Hi, my name is grace.m-r, and I'm going to be talking about the misappropriation of Native American culture in American popular culture. Um, to start off, I just wanted to say that this is something that growing up in Oklahoma, I've kind of always thought I had kind of a good idea of Native American culture, but this class has really um, kind of opened my eyes to how incorrect the way I've learned about Native American culture has been in the past. Um, so to start, I'm going to touch on playing Indian, which is kind of, to in my eyes, like where the starting point of misappropriation is for most people in America. So a great example of it, obviously, is in elementary schools around Thanksgiving time. Most uh, children are encouraged to either dress up as a pilgrim or an Indian, and everyone comes to school and shares food, and that's how you're taught what Thanksgiving is, when in reality, that's a gross misrepresentation of what actually occurred on Thanksgiving, and it kind of minimizes the um, what the colonizers did. It majorly minimizes what the colonizers did to Native Americans and to their culture. So, because we're taught that that's okay because we do it at school, it kind of carries on. So, today, even, or recently at least, there has been problems with people wearing Native American headdresses or like headbands to music festivals. So, for example, Coachella, uh, I believe that was the one last year where it was a big problem, and people have made it kind of a political or a bipartisan problem, when in reality it should just be a humanitarian thing. It's just, or just a more of a respect thing, that um, the meaning and the tradition behind Native American regalia should be left to Native Americans to wear that and represent it how they see it fitting. And a music festival um, in California where you have to pay like thousands of dollars for a wristband isn't necessarily the place, especially if you yourself are not Native American. Then there's never a place where that's an appropriate um, piece of clothing for you to be wearing, because it's more than a piece of clothing in the Native American culture. And so, as I said, like, we've, as a society, we've kind of become desensitized to how much we appropriate Native American culture. This was kind of discussed in the Real Engine movie that we watched, where um, we, as like Western culture, has kind of always been fixated around Native Americans. So we've kind of been appropriating their culture for a while, and um, the fact that it's just so normalized in our society through popular culture um, is a major problem. Um, so the way the book describes it, comparing it to blackface, was really helpful for me to fully understand how um, how serious it actually is. So blackface minstrel shows used to occur. They were like the first major form of entertainment where like audiences were super involved, and they really, they try, in a way it was most people's first um, look into African American culture, but the fact that it was so incorrect, so people were just learning false information, that, and that was their only idea they had of African American culture. So it just started spreading. It's like a snowball effect. It just started spreading false information, false information. Um, well, the same thing clearly is kind of still happening today with Native Americans. still in movies or TV shows, Native Americans are portrayed normally as, first of all, as just like one native tribe. That they don't really distinguish tribes. They don't use proper, like the actual language and the proper music. It seems as though most directors, I guess, don't even look into the tribe they're trying to depict in their movies, and it is offensive that you would even. So an example of this, I didn't mention this in my paper, but is the Twilight movies. They have a Native American tribe, and it just kind of uses like little stereotypes from all different tribes in order to depict that one tribe. By using just stereotypical images in popular culture, actual Native American culture isn't ever really able to be represented to the majority of Americans. And I think this also ties back into U.S. history, how Native Americans were treated when colonizers got here. So slavery was something blatant, like we were blatantly mistreating African Americans, to be honest. But Native Americans, they almost just tried to like brush them under the rug. They just moved them off the land, which that is something else I've learned through this class. Is obviously the Trail of Tears was described as a tragedy in my history classes, but no one ever fully explained to me. Or it might just be me, but I was never fully aware of how, in my history classes, it made it sound like they just forced them to move, which that's not enough. Like, you have to move from the land you've always known to be your home. But I didn't realize how many people truly died and were unable to have a proper burial and everything like that on the Trail of Tears. So that's another example of U.S. popular culture not representing Native American culture in the way that it should. So the fact that African American and Native American cultures were treated so differently in the past, it kind of explains why the difference between blackface and redface now, in my opinion. So, and a prime example of this, unfortunately, can be seen on our campus. So, last semester, when two girls dressed up in blackface, they withdrew from school because they knew that it was so inappropriate. It caused a huge uproar. But my freshman year, so just I guess 3 years ago now, there was a girl who dressed up as a Native American on Halloween, and no one made a big deal. Like, I'm sure she's going to be graduating, walking across the same stage I am. And why shouldn't those be treated in the same context or with the same consequences? So, carrying on from that, the Native American culture is still being misrepresented in our society today. And this can be seen through the song I mentioned in my paper is a song called Indian Outlaw by Tim McGraw. He is not a Native American descent, but in the song, the lyrics are, I'm an Indian outlaw, half Cherokee, half Choctaw. So he's, in a sense, doing singing red face because he is claiming to be Native American when he's not. And although this seems like, who cares if one person says that they're of another culture that they're not, it is a big deal when it's so normalized and we're so desensitized to that we let stuff like that slide, because then it allows for an entire culture to become misrepresented and misconstrued by the rest of society. So and another way of putting that is cultural confusion. It just causes major cultural confusion because people, many Americans grow up, like I said, going to school, being able to dress up as an Indian, and then um, not really learning about all of the tragedies that Native American people were put through by our government and our country, and then hearing songs and seeing movies where everything is just completely false. So Native American people are never fully able to teach their culture and teach their history to people, even though it's such an important part of most of American history in general. Um, so I think that's the major takeaway from all of this is just that people should be able to represent their own culture in popular culture. We shouldn't be appropriating it in any way. There are plenty of Native people who could, if they want, be able to represent their own culture, and it would be far more educational because um, not everyone has the opportunity to take a course like the one I've just taken. Even students who go to OU may have never taken this course and maybe they never will. So they're probably unable to fully learn when things don't directly affect you. Sometimes it's hard to learn about them, even though they're very important and you should want to open your eyes to other cultures. So it's important that um, popular culture doesn't misconstrue things because that's how a lot of people get their information, and it can be really detrimental to culture.